This is the marquee from Fillmore East, the first time the Allman Brothers played the venue, December 26th through 28th, 1969. They opened for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and it was a pretty unlikely combination. According to everyone, the band included, it didn't go over very well. When I was doing a presentation last year in Alabama, Ken came up to me and said he doesn't remember being disappointed in the Allman Brothers or booing them, which the Allman Brothers kind of have a memory of, but instead he just remembered everybody being so stunned at how good they were and how they stood out against the other bands on that lineup, including Blood, Sweat, and Tears at the top of the bill. Brings me to one of my really favorite stories, another one of my really favorite stories that comes from Twiggs Linden and comes from that book, An Allman Brothers Band Biography in Word and Pictures that Sire Books put out in 1976. But Twiggs says after the show he went and met with Kip Cohen, who was working for Bill Graham at Fillmore East, and Kip Cohen was actually apologizing a little bit. They were making small talk. He was apologizing for the crowd, how it didn't go over real well. Bill Graham prided himself on putting good lineups together at Fillmore East, and it just hadn't been a good fit. And so after the show, Kip and Twiggs are talking, and Kip says, who is the band like? Who are their influences? Who would they buy a ticket to see? And Twiggs said B.B. King, the Grateful Dead, and Roland Kirk in that order. And then Twiggs says they go back on the circuit. They're just touring around, and they find out that they've got a gig in 2 weeks out in San Francisco opening for B.B. King and Buddy Guy. After those shows, which were in January of 1970 at Fillmore West, Twiggs goes into Graham's office at Fillmore West, not Fillmore East here, and to get paid. And Bill Graham says, "Hey, I love your band. How did they enjoy playing here?" And Twiggs says, "They never thought they'd be able to play with B.B. King. That was heaven for them." Bill Graham says, "He was y'all's first choice, wasn't he?" He says, "I felt so bad putting you on that bill in New York. I wanted to make it up to you. I asked Kip Cohen to find out who the Allman Brothers liked best, and he told me the first act you named was B.B. King, and the second was the Grateful Dead. Now you got 2 weeks to get back to the Fillmore East, because I got you booked there with the Dead." Those shows happened in the second week of February 1970, and they've actually been released in toto, actually, or what survives the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. So if you want to hear kind of what they sounded like in the earliest of days, that's the best quality anything that we have. There's a 1-disc set that's a little bit of a compendium and some different versions of Outskirts of Town and Mountain Jam put back together, and then some other full song versions as well. Really worth checking out. It's one of my favorites. Long live the Allman Brothers Band.